I'm Chelle Johnson, like I was saying, CEO of Best U Talent Advisors and CCC, or Colorado Career Connectors. This is the largest audience that Colorado Career Connectors has ever had. And it's because the topic is so relevant. And there are so many emails and messages that Barbara and I and Janine get about how do I fight this ageism? What's going on in the market where if I'm being interviewed by a 30-year-old, how can I still be relevant in that type of environment? And the truth is, our society has 5 generations of workforce. Think about the Gen Zs, those just getting out of school, and then the traditionalists and the baby boomers and the Gen Xers. Hi, I'm a Gen Xer. We're going to talk about age, intergenerational collaboration, and we've got 2 of the best experts to do that. I started Colorado Career Connectors in 2021. And we have helped over 5,000 people, with this being our biggest audience yet. So I am humbled to bring this content to you and so grateful that Janine and Barbara have agreed. Barb, next slide, please. My team consists of Yvette Bell, who is my director of operations. Thank you, Yvette, for everything you do. Nikki Cutler is on the recruitment side, and so is Anna Peters. We currently have some openings that I want to tell you about. Barb, next slide. We are hiring for a business development leader in Scottsdale, Arizona, for a woman-owned business called Iology. This is a $3 million digital transformation company that is looking for its next sales leader with the potential to be president of the business in 2 to 5 years. We also are working with a women's health large clinic called Viva Eve, or SpectraFem, in New York City. They currently have a vice president of finance. It's not listed here, but if you know people in the New York area, we are just getting started with VP of finance in New York City for Manhattan or Forest Hills. We also work with Head First Corporation, which is a youth sports camp for baseball and softball in the DC area. They're looking for a vice president of marketing. This is a transformational growth marketer that's going to report into the president. And then I'm personally doing 2 business development leaders in San Jose, California, for a metals manufacturing organization. And they're looking for people who have lots of expertise in business development and sales. So let us know. We are recruiters and we are coaches. So we wear both hats, which make us very unique in working with lots of different industries across the country. Now, I'm going to put on my hat as an executive career coach, and I would like to introduce you to one of my current clients. Barb, next slide. Her name is Joanna Johnson, and I've asked her, Barb, next slide, please. I've asked Joanna to spend some time with everyone today and tell us a little bit about herself. Joanna, if you want to take it. Barb, can you go back to Joanna's slide, please? Thank you. Joanna, are you out there?
I am. Thank you for the
Awesome.
introduction and for allowing me this opportunity. A little bit about myself. I have lived in Denver, Colorado for almost half my life, although I did grow up in northern Indiana. I started my career in the hospitality industry, first working as an event planner at SeaWorld before moving into hotel sales and business development for 2 different properties. In 2012, I made the leap into the nonprofit sector, where I worked as director of meetings and events and ultimately operations director for a trade association. It was in this last role that I finally felt like I had found my niche. My experiences overseeing projects and programs, streamlining processes, and creating new systems provided a sense of accomplishment that I had never experienced. Always having an altruistic nature, I realized how rewarding work can be when serving a greater purpose. I'm also one of the estimated 5.1 million women in the US who had to leave the workforce during COVID due to childcare coverage. I thought at the time that it might be difficult to return, but I had no idea what it would look like, nor how AI and fractional work would change the landscape. In the last member spotlight, the guest compared her journey to a roller coaster. I remember thinking at the time of spinning cups as my analogy. I've often felt that I'm spinning between managing the job search, completing household duties, schlepping on to the next activity, etc. Scrambling to submit a job application before it's shut down, only hours after being posted. Spending significant time updating my information, only to discover that the company isn't technically hiring, it's just fishing. Questioning how much of my history is relevant versus age revealing. And at times, the scrambling has left me nauseous and discouraged, yet I know I can't get off the ride until it's over and I'm working full time again. Last Friday, after getting a rejection from a position I very much wanted and felt qualified for, I decided to take my daughter to Elitch Gardens, a local amusement park. She had no desire to ride the roller coasters. Instead, she only had one ride on her mind. You guessed it, the teacups. As we rode the ride for the first time, I struggled to adjust to the ever-changing direction. I fumbled with the door, spinning the wheel, and getting in and out of the cup, feeling extremely awkward when I did. When the ride finished, my daughter asked to ride them again. I hesitated, yet agreed. The second time around, I knew how to handle the door and the cup, so I was able to focus on keeping my nausea at bay, often picking a spot in the horizon to stare at when everything else whirled around us. The second ride was more enjoyable, although I did have to take a small break before riding it a third time. On the third and fourth attempts, I walked into the cup with ease, spun around without vertigo, and was able to watch the other cups around us. It was during this ride that the analogy hit me. Although it felt like I was just spinning mindlessly before, the experience got better each time. My viewpoint improved, my confidence naturally increased, and ultimately, I could enjoy the ride with those around me. The spinning always ended, reminding me that I will not be job seeking forever. And although the 2 minutes seemed long at the time, looking back, I realized how short it really was in the grand scheme of things. Something I'm hoping to be able to say about my return to the workforce. Lastly, I'd like to thank Chelle and her team for hosting events like today. The community created and the content provided have helped me grow and improve as a job seeker and human being. It's easy to get discouraged during the process, but having you all along for the ride has made the process more enjoyable and productive. Hiring Chelle and taking the PQ class this past January has changed my trajectory, stopped the spinning, and I'm forever grateful. Thank you.
To Joanna, that is what this community is about. It's about networking. It's about helping each other. It's about getting to know each other so that the spinning and the roller coaster and that temporary ride that might seem like it's forever is easier. So Joanna's LinkedIn is here for you. Joanna, that took a lot of courage, especially in front of 128 people you do not know. I hope that you all found that to be useful in the comparisons of the continuous spinning, that we can stop that spinning for the next hour and really help you get some nuggets. So get your pens out, get your your cameras out, and let's get ready. Next slide, please, Barb. Since this is our biggest audience, I wanted to celebrate something with you. I'm so excited. I'm so humbled, and I want to share that with you. We have now helped over 5,000 people through this community. It started as a meetup in 2021 of March, and then it just kept growing and growing and growing. And I can tell you, we have reached Africa, Latin America, and Europe with our content, with our speakers. 2.5 years, 60 webinars. Now, we will be taking the summer off, and you will be seeing a new look to Colorado Career Connectors. It's currently a nonprofit, and as the CEO, I have decided to move it into be called Best You Career Connectors, because Best You is my for-profit. We're dovetailing it under that. So in the fall, we're going to have great speakers just like we do, but instead of Colorado Career Connectors, it's going to be Best You Career Connectors. So please be on the lookout for that. And if you have ideas of speakers, of topics, of content, that you'd like to see, please let Yvette or I know. We do search for the best, for the people who push the edge, that bring you bleeding edge, cutting edge information. So, because this is our biggest audience ever, I have decided that for those of you that are here today, I'm going to give out 2 free coaching sessions. And Yvette, you're going to help me with this. Yvette is, of the 129 people, she's randomly choosing someone. Yvette, who is the first person that has won a free coaching session with me?
I am still working on that.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. I have to make sure they're here. And I don't think they're here.
Here's someone else. How many of you could use a free coaching session on feeling better and stopping the spin?
Ooh.
Carolyn just raised her hand, or their hand. Quite a few people.
Quite a few
Okay.
people. Okay. We will come back to you, and we are going to turn it back over to Janine. Barbara, thank you for your help while we had some technical difficulties. This is the real reason why we're here. We will be getting those 2 free coaching sessions out. Barbara, next slide, please.
Oh, whoops. Sorry, I thought we were going
I would
to.
like to introduce our speakers for today. Janine Vanderburg and I met through our personal coach, and Janine is a powerhouse. She won one of the top 25 most powerful women in business from the Colorado Women's Chamber of Commerce. Her company, Encore Roadmap and Changing the Narrative, is doing just that. She's receiving national recognition for speaking, writing, and consulting with businesses and brands on how they can be more age inclusive and leverage the skills of older workers. She has won American Society on Aging, Colorado Center for Aging and Public Service. I hope you're ready for some really amazing content from Janine. After Janine speaks, we're going to hear from Barbara Brooks, who is the CEO and founder of Second Act Women. She has worked with Diversity and Equity Inclusion Award. She actually just got that. So congratulations, Barbara. She also, last year, we celebrated Table Next to Table with Janine and Barbara as one of the top 25 women in business from the Colorado Women's Chamber of Commerce. She has spoken at least 5 times at Denver Startup Week. She's been part of Facebook Accelerator, won around $80,000 from Facebook Accelerator. And she is a powerhouse of a women's community leader, pro-age speaker, and thought starter. She has a unique blend of vision, savvy, humor, and heart. And today she's going to talk to you all about how you focus on your personal brand as a career seeker who might be over 40. She's amplifying the voices. She actually just was the MC for a national aging conference that Janine and her went to in Rhode Island. Without further ado, Janine, I'd like to turn the floor over to you, and thank you all for joining us. And I'm just going to sit here and soak up what we're about to learn.
Chelle, thank you so much. And it is so fun to be here with so many people I'm recognizing, whether it's part of our Changing the Narrative community, some of my Reframing Aging peeps, and people from around the country and beyond. So thank you all for being here. What I am going to talk about in 10 minutes today is what I typically spend, for those of you who've been to my presentations before, 3 hours. So you're getting the fast and quick. And Yvette, if I can ask you to drop into the link for those of you who want additional information and resources, there is a link that Yvette will be putting in the chat now and then towards the end of my presentation so that I can send you basically more stuff. What we're going to talk about now is seizing the age advantage while, and this is my signature phrase, slaying the ageism dragon at the same time. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to talk about 3 things. 1, how do we advance the case for older workers and intergenerational teams? how do we avoid in ourselves that us versus them thinking that if we're older, we're pitting ourselves against younger people, and if we're younger, we're pitting ourselves against older. So how do we avoid that? And then third, and all of you know, if you're here and and the title appealed to you, ageism is real. And so one of the things we'll talk about is how do we anticipate and refute stereotypes that hiring managers and interviewers might have before they even bring them up. So that's kind of what we're going to quickly go through today. The first, advance. So this is basically what I talk to employers about, and I spend most of my time these days talking to employers about the business case for older workers in intergenerational teams. And the reality is that the business case is really strong, even outside of the demographics that show that we don't have, quote, enough younger people to fill talent pipelines. And so various industries are bringing back older workers because they have to. But this isn't just a have to play. There are real significant benefits. And I like to talk about them as the ABCs. And I want you to have the ABCs handy when you're feeling discouraged at a job search and saying, if you feel like you're on that teacup ride and the teacup. And Joanna, I appreciate you sharing that story. Although I've got to tell you, the teacup ride always has made me sick. So I avoid it. But anyway, but these are the ABCs we talk about. The first is really understanding what attributes of older workers are. And there are a lot of attributes that we gain as we age. And I'm going to mention three. One, as we get older, our soft skills, or what my friend Barbara would call our power skills, really are strengthened. So things like communication skills, project management skills, and that kind of thing. And those are really useful and awfully high in demand in most workplaces. The second is really that industry knowledge. A friend of mine shared yesterday with me a story that came out of the Financial Times in London. And basically, the nuclear industry in Europe, because of a concern of younger people about climate change, whatever, are all of a sudden they're looking at, how can we repower nuclear industry? And I'm going to put off to the side any concerns that we have about nuclear for right now, because this is simply an example. And what are they doing? They are calling back nuclear engineers because they need someone to mentor younger people entering the industry. So that understanding of industry knowledge is a really important attribute of older workers. The third is there's kind of a common narrative out there that, we're losing our cognition. And we actually know as we get older, and we actually know that is factually incorrect. And in fact, a particular kind of intelligence that is called crystallized intelligence or pattern recognition actually gets stronger as we get older. And what does that mean? It's the knowledge that comes from that prior learning and past experiences, as well as our ability to adapt it to new situations. So you can see how that would be really, really handy in innovation and thinking about new ways to solve problems and so forth. During the pandemic, a friend of mine who was a leader of a global organization, basically said what she really appreciated about the older workers in her organization at that time was the ability to kind of calm everybody down. We kind of knew we've been through the post-September 11th. We've been through the Great Recession. We know that we're going to come out of any economic challenge okay. And that turned out to be an invaluable attribute. So we need to remember that the attributes of older workers. The second thing that we need to think about the benefit of older workers in intergenerational teams is what the research shows are the benefits of age-diverse teams. So we know, and there's so much research out there now about the benefits overall of diversity in the workplace, racial diversity, gender diversity, other forms of diversity. And there's a lot of emerging research that is showing very similar benefits to age diversity. So research shows that age-diverse team, this does not mean sitting side by side in cubicles or in Zoom squares, by the way. This is for organizations that are deliberately putting people of different ages together. But mixed age teams have higher creativity, better team problem solving, higher productivity, higher employee engagement, and increased profitability. So there are really strong benefits. And when I talk to employers about the benefits of age diverse teams, they inevitably say, yes, we want that. And then they go to, how do we do that? And the perplexing paradox, of course, that we have right now, and if any of you have seen the resume builder research, you've seen this really odd sort of thing of hiring managers saying, well, we don't want to hire people age 60 and over, and we also don't want to hire people age 25 and younger. So they're basically pushing away, two important groups that could add to that age diversity. But when we talk about the benefits of age diverse teams, that kind of thinking starts to change. The third, the C of our ABCs, is understanding customer insight and connection. Some of you may be familiar, those of you who follow me on LinkedIn may be familiar with that campaign that we recently did to encourage LinkedIn to take down their ageist advertising that showed both a man and a woman. There were two separate ads in their 60s, basically being very clueless about technology, reinforcing that stereotype about digital incompetence, saying, oh, my son works in the cloud. I don't know what the cloud is, or the guy saying, I don't know what CRM means, and then the tagline was, but LinkedIn does. Now, to its credit, after a lot of pressure, and including from some of you here on this call, LinkedIn took out that ad. And to me, part of the takeaway was, if there had been some kind of older people sitting in that marketing team and working with the ad agency who developed that, there would be that customer insight and connection that it's kind of bad form. It's a bad play on the largest professional networking platform to go ahead and make fun of people who are part of your community and your platform, right? Basically, ageism isn't good for business. So it's important to remember the customer insight and connection that we can bring. I have sometimes government agencies will reach out to me, especially government agencies whose job is to reach out to older adults. And they'll say things like, well, we don't know where to put the flyers, and older adults don't use technology. Well, wrong. A lot of you here are disproving that. You've all shown up on this program that was marketed exclusively through social media and through email. So people make assumptions. And when there are people of various ages, we can bring that customer insight and connection and say, you know what, you might want to rethink that. So those are the ABCs. How can you actually use this? So whether you are crafting your talking points for networking interviews, for your original resume, during your interview, during a thank you note, what I like to recommend is start with an A, B, or C. Match that A, B, or C that is applicable to you with the results that an employer is looking for, and then identify some really specific examples of when you have done that with the results that you've incurred. Shelley earlier mentioned that Barbara and I were in Rhode Island, and this woman shared with me, she was a woman who at age 65 was kind of bounced out of her position as vice president of a Fortune 100 company. And yet, one of the things that she knew was, one, she wasn't done yet. She had extraordinary experience mentoring and bringing along people. So she used that B, the benefits of intergenerational teams, and ended up applying and securing position as a chief culture officer because the result the employer was looking for was, I've got these younger people entering the workplace. They, graduated and were entering the workplace during the pandemic. There wasn't someone there to mentor them. We're having a hard time integrating into our culture. So she was able to go with her understanding of having mentored in intergenerational teams, manage intergenerational teams, match it with the result they were looking for, have really specific results to kind of pivot into her next position. So that's simply an example. And I have more in the resources that I will send out. The second thing we need to do is we need to avoid us versus them, or as I like to say, we can't throw our kids, our grandkids, our nieces and nephews under the bus. Very often, and I've heard from a lot of older adult job seekers, we're angry. Yes, we're angry. We're angry. We know we've got a lot to give, and we feel like we're up against this really ageist. And the reality is that so are younger people. So we know that ageism goes in two directions. So the worst thing, you want to avoid the temptation to say, I've got a great work ethic, unlike those younger people. I can do this, and these kids don't know what they're doing yet, or that kind of thing. We want to make sure that we're avoiding it, not only in what we say, but also in what we're thinking, because that is going to show up in an interview. It's going to show up in our interactions. What we want to do instead is recall the really beneficial relationships we've had with people younger and older, times that we've learned from others, we've been able to mentor others. And those are the kind of things that we want to insert into our narrative, our brand, our conversations when we are job seeking. And the final thing we want to do is we need to anticipate and refute stereotypes. And again, I'm not going to lie. I know I'm an anti-ageism activist. I mean, this is what I do. I have the coolest job in the world. I get to tell people why ageism is wrong and why they should stop doing it and why all of us should stop doing it. But the reality is that there are stereotypes out there about older workers. Most savvy employers and savvy hiring managers are not going to say to you, so are you too old for this job? But they may be thinking that. So one of the things that we can do and throughout our job seeking is anticipate what some of those most frequent stereotypes are. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'm going to share a couple and how we can anticipate and refute before they even come up. So one of the things you want to do is eliminate, and I know this sounds weird coming from an anti-ageism activist, but do eliminate your age and graduation date from any application materials in your LinkedIn profile. Those of you in Colorado have a benefit because as a result of legislation that I worked with a coalition of people in Colorado, starting in July, the Application Fairness Act will be in play that prohibits employers from asking for age or graduation dates, because we know that those have been used to screen out people. So, but certainly don't volunteer that information yourself. To refute the stereotype that older people don't want to learn new things. And one, the stereotype is refuted. There's a reason why lifelong learning institutes are so popular, why age-friendly universities are soaring. Research by AARP and others have shown that that stereotype is just that. It's a stereotype and not true. But we need to anticipate and refute it. And one of the ways that we can do it, for example, on resumes is listing recent courses, certifications, new things that you've learned, making sure that you've got prepared talking points in the interviews and that kind of thing about things that you've recently learned, again, that are applicable to what the employer's needs are. And then finally, to refute the stereotype that older people are digitally incompetent, make sure you have a Gmail address instead of Hotmail or AOL. And then make sure that your name is in your email address. I literally received a resume from someone who was, and I hope you're not on this call, Smurf Goddess, but it was smurfgoddess@AOL.com. No, don't do that. So, you know,
Ouch.
yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Was that you? Sorry.
Oh, that was me, because wow, that's way back.
That was way back, right? Do highlight the tech platforms that you're savvy in. And then one of the things that make sure that your resume in a way is algorithm proof. This does not mean create a resume with AI, but one of the things you can do is take the job description that you're applying for, throw it in word cloud, take your resume and throw it in word cloud. Make sure that you've got similar enough words coming up so you're getting through those algorithms that people are looking for. I have got so much more stuff. I don't have time to talk about it. Yvette, if I can ask you to put that first link, but also it's in here, it's basically bit.ly, send me resources. If you go to that and fill it out, you can also follow me on LinkedIn. I am sometimes on Twitter, although it annoys me all the time. And my new website is encoreredmap.com. So thanks so much. And I hope we have time for questions after. I really appreciate all of you being here. I'm going to turn it over to Barbara, who is going to really talk about how you go beyond stereotypes and really focus on your personal brand. And my friend Barbara, take it away.
You got it. Let's get it in presentation mode. So yeah, as she's talked about, is the seasoned worker. How many of us remember Molly Shannon? I'm 50. And this is how we were portrayed back in the late 90s, right? this is not us. And obviously, as Janine just spoke of, some of the myths that we need to debunk, as she said, and refute those stereotypes, is that we're expensive to keep, can't think clearly, poor performance, won't adapt to change, lack of tech savvy, and ready to retire. She mentioned all of those things, but again, you have to debunk those. And I have a few more things to add to that. Refuting those stereotypes. Interesting enough, this is what we really look like today. Not Molly Shannon with the pants up to here, not the Golden Girls, as much as we love them, but this is who we truly are. And yes, these are real humans within my sphere. And so when we look at the seasoned professional, here are some of the other realities. You need to keep in mind and or put when you're writing out your strategy, your job strategy, and all of that, is to remember that, yeah, the realities of being expensive to keep is bunk. We're more than likely to stay in our current jobs. And think about how early millennials and zennials, and even those in their 20s, they're leaving the jobs. Well, that's expensive. Ask any talent acquisition manager or hiring manager how much it costs. So we have to remind them in roundabout ways that we are here to stay. We're not ready to retire, which is number 6. But we have that built-in knowledge, as she talked about, that crystallized intelligence. Commit that to memory. Understand what that means, and understand what that means to your own personal brand, and how our memory really does improve. And by the way, we're also lifelong learners. Our performance improves with age. It's been said, and as she said. And as it says here, we may be more open to change, studies say, than guess what? Our younger counterparts. It lends to that lifelong learning. I swear to goodness, had I had a thirst to learn as I do now in my 50s, as I do now, when I was in my college years, my GPA would have been through the roof. But our attention spans are a little bit longer for us. We have this thirst to understand, to know, to qualify and quantify things. That is innately who we are as 40, 50, 60 plusers. 50 plusers, get this. Janine and I were just at a conference, the American Society on Aging conference in San Francisco. Did you know that 50 plusers own devices at the same rate as people between 18 to 49? Those are those smart devices, the smart TVs. Those are our tablets. Those are our smart watches. Those are those things that they think that we're not into or we're not buying. We're buying. We are what's called digital immigrants, which I'll speak to a little later. And so we are less likely to quit, which again results in higher ROI. Now, what you have to remember is age truly is our superpower. There's no doubt. We've mastered patience. We've developed focus. We've got judgment. The comprehension that we have that is innately in Gen X boomers and higher end millennials, as I like to say, learned how to collaborate. Yet we also were great at being independent. Think about those independent moms that raised us, or dads. Problem solvers. We know how to problem solve our way through. These things that they're missing out on. And sometimes that you forget that you too have innately in you as age being your superpower. We have fine-tuned professionalism. We're showing up in crop tops. Yes, I had a friend tell me this weekend she had to have a conversation with an employee about not wearing a crop top to work. We're reliable, we're courteous, we understand those things. Those are the things that we have learned. Age is your superpower. We have learned how to be self-sufficient, and we're extremely resourceful. Ask Bobby Brooks, my 86-year-old mom. Again, we are digital immigrants. Don't let anybody tell you, as Janine was mentioning, that we don't know technology. We were raised in all the new technology that came about. Think about Pong and Tetris and all of those games, Pac-Man, going to the arcades. Heck, we've also, think about this, we've also all scared of it. Are you scared of AI? We've had AI and machine learning for almost 20 years. Think about Alexa. Think about Siri. All of those, that's AI. So don't let those things cloud your superpower. Here is what a digital immigrant is, in case you'd like to know, and you can also Google it. A digital immigrant is a person who grew up before the internet and other digital computing devices were ubiquitous. And so we've had to adapt and learn these technologies, We have been learning these technologies since before your children were born. So remember that you are a digital immigrant. And if you're scared of technology, or if there's something you don't get, learn it. It leads into what Janine was saying a moment ago when it comes to eliminating, when it comes to anticipating those stereotypes, upskilling. You have got to continue to stay relevant and upskill in the things that you are not comfortable with. So let's talk about your personal brand. It's your superpower. Who are you? Do you know? Well, when you know who your actual personal brand is, you can overcome the biases that are placed on you, those internal biases that you have. You can actually also, by owning your personal brand, and be able to deliver who you are in an elevator, when you're greeting people, or when you're in that interview and they ask, well, tell me about yourself. That is all about what your story is and your personal brand. It can also debunk those darn stereotypes we just talked about. And the word that I have created, because you are not sick if you have had imposter syndrome. It's not an illness. It's something that does happen. You can also debunk the imposterism that you may feel when you own exactly who you are. So my question to you is, think about the big movie voice coming on screen. In a world where personal branding is not just an option, but a necessity. Me Incorporated, that is you, that's brand you. Me Incorporated is on an island all its own. Well, you know what? You're on an island all on your own when you don't understand your superpower, when you don't understand who you are, when you are asked that question in any interview, what do you do? Who are you? Tell me more about yourself. And you can't succinctly answer that question. So to know you, Me Inc., that is, to know you is to know your power skills. Yes, we don't call them soft skills anymore, because listen, these are skills that Gen X boomers and above have acquired because of our generations, because of all those things that I just mentioned above. So what are your power skills? Are you able to say off the top of your head, your top 5 power skills at any given moment? What are your personal values? What is your market reputation? What's your differentiation zone when you are applying for that job and you're in that interview? What sets you apart? What is your brand story? Who are you? And then what is your visible value in messaging? That's your LinkedIn. That's your presence. That's your offline presence and your online presence. What is Me Inc.'s offering? When you know that, that means you are owning your superpower of owning Me Inc., the personal brand. Because let me tell you something. If you have one social media platform, just one, and you have posted even just once on that platform, you are a personal brand, because someone can Google you and they will know instantly a little bit about you, your brand. So I would love for you to put into chat as I come to a close. What are your power skills? I'm curious how many of you can tell me and everyone here Top 3 power skills. Can you rattle them off? Go ahead and pop those in. I'm going to give you 30 seconds on the clock. 30 seconds on the clock. I want you to rattle off inside of chat. What are your power skills? Good, good. Talent guru, coaching, storytelling, project leadership. Good. Resilience, communication, empathy. Empathy is always a good one. That is something that's us. Technology. Good. I love this. By you being able to share immediately your top 1 to 3 power skills, you're already in the process of owning your brand. Risk assessment, love it. So with that said, I do speak on personal branding, and it's particularly for women, but I am open to allies anytime. I do have a session coming up in June, a live session in Denver, Colorado. I will also have a virtual session open to everyone. I love that you guys are keep them coming. Mentoring, empathy, developer, harmony. Some of those are even personal values that you're placing in there. So I want to help you emerge and amplify your impact on the job. Or if you have a portfolio career, Google it. That's a thing where you have several things that you are doing for income. I'm here to help you. But regardless, I want you to understand that your personal brand is who you are. It's a superpower, as is your age. And with Janine, as she said a moment ago, do not put those ages anywhere else. But what I want you to do is own that age, own that chapter number, own who you are. You have earned it. Aging is living, as Ashton Appleton says. So I'm Barbara Brooks and Riley B., the only grandchild my mother has gotten from me. And I have a podcast called The Second Act that started, and I hope to see you soon. So there you go. I would love to hear more. And I turn it back to you, Chelle Johnson.
Thank you, Barbara. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes. Why? Because I thought my best friend
Awesome.
was on.
Wow. Was that a fire hose of information or what? But I love what Janine was talking about with these myths and the ABCs. And we would love to have questions. We've left enough time so that we can answer questions from you. I saw some questions in the chat, like, is the ATS really being leveraged? Is it biased? Now, Janine and Barbara and I can help, but we have some recruiters from organizations that focus on people 40 and plus. We have the Learn from Grandma, who is 83, but feels like she's 38 online with us as well. So Yvette, if you can summarize the questions for us, please let us know, raise your hand, put your questions in this is for people all over the world. This is why we do this virtually. This is being recorded and will be sent out to people all over the nation, mostly in the US, but most are other English speaking countries. Great question.
Shelley?
Yes.
Something to what Janine said about the Gmail addresses. I think you need to also please make sure that your LinkedIn is customized. If you go to my LinkedIn or any one of ours, it'll say Barbara Brooks. Mine is Barbara L. Brooks, but it'll have my name. Please make sure that you have your name and take off all the garbly goop behind it. So if it even has Robin Bell, but then after Robin Bell, it has a slash with some other characters. Get in there and edit your LinkedIn profile, customize that URL, customize it.
Your LinkedIn page is actually your golden ticket to Hollywood. That's what's going to get you networking and connections with first and second level and even third level connections. Your LinkedIn page is also like your headline. Do not have dates where people can look. I can't even tell you, as an executive recruiter, how many times I see people with age, or they have like 20 connections on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is your ticket for job seeking, for connecting, for people getting to know you. So your headline is the most popular area. Then as recruiters, we want to look at your recommendations. We want to know what skills and endorsements you have. We want to not only know what you've done, but how can we reach you? What is your email address? What is your phone number? There's some questions coming in. Thank you, Anna, for putting in for positive intelligence. What questions do you have about ageism that Janine and Barbara can answer for you?
Shelley, I dropped a few in the chat for you. Let's see. From Jennifer, what is the opinion about many ATS being outdated? Employers are saying they can't fill open positions. Job seekers are saying they can't get interviews. There's a disconnect somewhere.
You know, there is a disconnect. The ATS system is, I mean, I remember being at Honeywell 20 plus years ago and implementing what is an applicant and what is a candidate. And I would love input from other leaders of talent as well. ATS systems, they do get upgraded. And I do feel like some of those policies are completely out of date. I saw where many applicants have to put in their year of graduation. Well, actually, I think that's BS. And so, Janine, were you working on something to have like a...
Yeah, so this applies to Colorado, and this is really, I'm so excited. We worked really hard on this last year, and it was a coalition, Colorado Center for Aging. I worked on it, Bell Policy Center, and we got passed in 1 year, which everyone said, oh, it's going to take you 5 or 6. We did it in 1 year. It's called the Job Application Fairness Act. And so starting July 1st of this year, employers are not going to be able to ask for your age or your graduation dates or other age identifiers on initial job applications. If age is relevant to, so for example, if you have to be a certain age to drive and have to get a commercial driver's license, all the employer will be able to ask is, can you meet the age requirements of this position? But otherwise, age is eliminated. So I think that's going to be a huge boost. I know, I mean, some of the things people were telling us, well, people can still find out your age. Yes, they can, but it removes a critical first step. And, you know, if an employer is going out of their way to find your age and screen you out, then you've got prima facie proof of workplace age discrimination. So, you know, this is a big win for Colorado. If you're not in Colorado, I am happy to chat with anybody anytime about how you can get this done in your state. Right now, New York, Connecticut, and there's one other state besides Colorado, and I'm that has this, but it's a big win, and we need to keep going. We need stronger workplace age discrimination laws in this country, and so all of us want to work on our own situations, and I would encourage all of us as well to support and become supporters of public policy advocates that make that lead us in the direction of more age-inclusive workplaces.
If I
I mean,
may,
thank you for that. That effort is amazing. Barbara.
oh my gosh, I literally forgot what I was going to say. It had something to do with, I don't know how other states or countries are, but Colorado is also one of those that adds the range of salary. Ladies and gents, go for exactly what you know you deserve. Don't undercut yourself. If that salary range is 80 to 100 and you know you're valued at, let's just say 95, go for 100. Maybe even go for 105 when you're in it, when it's time to talk, knowing that you will hit your number, and hold that number. Please do not negotiate with them as to why you need that number. You are of value. So when you give that number, once you do get that interview, because it will happen, it may take time, please hold that number. Many recruiters say that the lack of confidence comes in and the imposter syndrome comes in when you're saying, I need a 95,000 because no, hold the number. 95,000, that's my number.
Level of confidence is something that we all, as job seekers, my hope as a coach is that you do hold that number. you do know your value, that through what several people are asking about positive intelligence, we can talk about that offline. Barbara went through that with me. It just really helps you have that clarity, confidence, and courage. Now, we do have some other questions coming on in. Does removing your college graduation year really help when they can figure it out based on when you're listing your job? I think Janine answered that. Yes, it does help to take it off. Recruiters do not have time to think about how we have 3 to 7 seconds to look at your background. And so, yes, it does help. Paul Adler is asking, he's a substitute teacher in elementary school. Some of the kids have asked what a senior is. What's the best answer for that, Barb or Janine?
So I don't know what the best answer is for a grade school child, although there is a great new book that has just been written, a kid's book. It's basically a kid's book about ageism. Senior is a constructed term, and in the whole Reframing Aging initiative, terms like senior, senior citizen, elderly are discouraged for this reason, because research done by the Frameworks Institute and others have shown that people associate those terms with negative stereotypes about older adults. So I think for all of us, you'll notice I only use the term older adults, use older adults or descriptive language. But if I were if I were a substitute teacher, I would recommend this book. I'm going to look and see if I can grab it. It literally has just been published by a group, the Age Well Collaborative in Connecticut. They're all rock stars. And I will, you know what, if you've filled out that form to get more resources, I will include that as well. I'm making myself a note too.
She's doing
Because
that. I noticed someone asked about when will corporate begin to recognize age as an element of DE&I initiatives, and that is exactly what Janine and I speak on as pro-age speakers on the power of intergenerational change. That's us saying to corporations that when they keep us and all 5 generations, that obviously the productivity goes up, all of that. And as she said, the bottom line, but that is what pro-age advocates like ourselves are going in, because we don't have a current number. It's growing, but regardless, ageism, the ableism and ageism still remains at a loss or at a stopping point where DE&I departments are not including it as they should still today. But thankfully you have Western Union that's based in Colorado and others that are, that get it and include that ism, but most.
And I'm seeing an increasing trend. I mean, I'm getting increasingly calls from companies who are wanting me to speak about age as part of DEI. I recently, if any of you have access to American Society on Aging, I recently did a webinar that's available to anybody on ageism and as part of DEI. But I also, that's basically what I do these days. I talk to employers, public and private and nonprofit, about ageism and the benefits of older workers and intergenerational teams as an element of DEI. So happy to chat with anyone.
Obviously, this topic has so many different strings we can pull. Janine and Barbara, thank you so much. We are coming up on the hour. There's an interesting question here from Caroline. Do you say in an interview, you may think I'm older for the position, but?
I personally would not. That's where I go to the anticipate and refute ahead of time. So instead of putting it out there, I'm older, I would just, you're talking about the results. What are the attributes you have? What are the results you can get to that company when you've done it before? What the results of those have been? They know you're older. You don't need to tell them you're older. What you want to focus your brief talking time and your presentation time on the things that you can accomplish.
Beautifully stated.
Okay, we've got Yolanda Larkin, I'm seeing in here, from Western Union. She's global DE&I and belonging, because that's important too for Western Union. And she's got her QR code. She must be hiring. So look inside of the chat. But yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. So we are going to close this. This recording will be sent out. The transcription will also be sent out. Barbara, Janine, and my contact information, along with the links and documents that Barbara and Janine provided, will be sent out to you. We know this topic is of huge importance. This month, we've been concentrating on this from a Best You talent acquisition perspective, and we know the importance of hiring older workers. Thank you so much for joining us today. Yvette and I would love to hear from you on topics that you would like to see from Best You Career Connectors in the fall. That is our new name. I have to get used to saying that. Thank you, Barbara, for your help with some technology earlier. That is what collaboration is all about. Yvette, thank you for all of your assistance in putting this together. I see lots of familiar faces. We will get back to you on positive intelligence as well. If I can personally help you with anything, I am an executive recruiter. I have 2 recruiters working for me, and I work one-on-one with my coaching clients. Let me know how I can best assist you. Have a great day, a nice Memorial weekend. Barbara and Janine, thank you for your leadership, your thought, intensity, and one more thing. Yvette, who won those 2 coaching sessions with me?
Let's see. Do we have Jenna here? Jenna's iPhone. Is she still here? Maybe not.
I don't think so. We can get in touch with her separately. And then there was another one. Who's the
And
other person?
George Armstrong.
Okay, Jenna and George, if you're out there, we will be contacting you. Congratulations. Thank you all for
Thank
making
you.
Yep,
Colorado
George is here. Hey, George.
Colorado
Jenna's here too.
a success.
Jenna.
Awesome.
I'd like
Okay,
to
Jenna.
pass it
Okay,
on.
George. Yvette and I will follow up with you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And be a leader out there. Know your worth. Take care, everyone. Thank you, Janine. Thank you, Barbara. Take care, everyone.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Shelley. And Yvette, bye.
Bye.
Everyone.